Disrupting Japan, Episode 36. Welcome to Disrupting Japan, straight talk from Japan's most successful entrepreneurs. I'm Tim Romero, and thanks for listening. Today, we're going to talk about the evolution and the disruption of the photography market in Japan. Not the photography equipment market, mind you. That's already a familiar story. We're going to talk about the business of taking pictures. Yuka Fujii started Famarry in early 2015 as an online marketplace to match freelance photographers with those who want to use their services. Now, at first glance, this seems like one of the many Me Too business models we see far too often in the startup world. But there's something uniquely Japanese in this story. You see, for the past few decades, a handful of photo studios have created a virtual cartel in portrait and studio photography. Yuka and I talk about how changes in both the technology and the demographics of the market have weakened this cartel and left them ripe for disruption. But I don't want to give too much away, so let's get right to the interview. Okay, so I'm sitting here with Yuka Fujii of Famarry, a e-commerce site matching photographers with customers, but actually, Yuka, I'm sure you can explain it much better than I can. So why don't you tell us a bit about Famarry?
So if I make it easier to express, then it's about the crowdsourcing of photographers.
That's pretty broad, but you've gotten rather specific. You're dealing with wedding photography,
yes,
right?
Now I start with a wedding.
In Japan, most weddings are sort of package deal. You've got the wedding studio that arranges the food and the venue and the photographer, and they lock all of that up together. So how do you get around that?
About 70,000 couples getting married every year in Japan.
Right.
Half of the couples, most of them, they take the actual day wedding photography, and half of them, they do the pre-wedding photography, which is like taking photos before wedding.
So you're focusing on this pre-wedding
Yes,
segment.
mostly.
And so where did they go to some romantic spot with a
Yes.
beautiful backdrop and take pictures in nice clothes? And,
yes,
okay.
exactly. For the actual wedding, most of the couples, they take the photos through all the wedding venues.
Right.
For the pre-wedding photography, more than half of them, they search by themselves to take photos. So like they do internet research, or maybe like ask their friends.
One of the most interesting things about your business, about Famarry, is the backdrop of the changing nature of the photography industry here.
Yes.
How do people usually look for a photographer? You're saying they're asking friends and recommendations. How are you reaching them, I guess?
My users are kind of like early adopters, and then most of them, they find us on the Instagram.
On Instagram?
Yes.
Really? So do they find a particular photographer, or are you just actively posting, these are the top 10 wedding photos from Okinawa? Or?
Yeah, we are posting a lot of photographers' photos, but they find us because we do a kind of like a promotion. And then like many couples, they want to join this campaign, so they share it on their Instagram.
Interesting. So Instagram's been your main marketing channel.
Yeah.
That makes a lot of sense for what you're doing.
Yeah, we're
now.
not like investing any money to promote, but I get a lot of users like every day.
You founded Famarry very recently. Just this year you launched, right?
Yes.
So how has your growth been?
Until 1 month before, we didn't have a lot of users yet. Once we started this promotion, the
Instagram promotion?
Yes. Before that, it was kind of I think it was very difficult for the users to find their favorite photographers but now I make it like a package, and then like the price is the same, and then I just recommend like 10 photographers, so it's easier for the users to choose.
How many customers do you have in an average month, for example? Do you have
Actually, we have like hundreds bookings in 1 month.
Okay.
So far.
Now, one thing that strikes me about this particular model is it wouldn't seem like you'd get a lot of repeat users because people get married, not very often. Are you planning on offering other types of services, other types of photography?
Yes. Of course, the wedding is like a starting of the family.
Right.
So when they start their family, they want to have the kids, so like they can have the pregnancy photos, and then after that it's a baby photo, and then like family photos.
Okay.
So I can have the different services like Famarry for wedding, Famarry for family, Famarry for baby, something like that. Wedding is kind of like the photographers should be like really professional, but for the family or baby can be like kind of like amateur or like semi-professional photographers.
We talked a little bit before about how the photography market is changing and how something like Famarry probably couldn't have existed 10 years ago.
In Japan, because like a magazine was like published very long time ago, and also camera or equipment was more expensive before. So most of the photographers are organized by the studio or some kind of agency.
Right.
People, when they want to go for shooting, like family shooting, they go to their local photo studio and take photos. It's much cheaper now, and you can just like take photos with only your own camera.
So
which is more,
the equipment has gotten cheaper.
Yeah.
There's more qualified photographers, but until recently, the studios still controlled the business.
Yes, but nowadays, people start to hire their own photographers, like even the wedding couples. So photographers are now, they're finding it easier for them to be independent.
So now with the photo studios, with their business declining, so right now, what's their main business?
Studio artists is still is a big player for baby or kids photos. Still, the people think of the photos, they go to the studio artists.
Studio artists is the big one here in Japan. That's right.
Yes.
Yeah.
And also for the wedding, they just like go to the big companies now. So still, that these companies are making money. It's still growing. The market is still growing. So it's okay, but I see that there's a chance and there's a studio can no longer.
What I've heard from the actual people who are using these is that the quality is just not that high anymore.
That's true.
The photographers are on like a basic salary, so there's no incentive for them to really to excel at their job.
Yes, because when all the local photographers like have their own photo studio, they were like kind of like craftsmen.
Right.
So like they capture their photos and like they didn't know how much they cost, but consumers just paid for it. But because the studio artists take over the place and they make it very cheap, and everyone take all the same photos. Like even if you're not a professional, you can take photos. You can just have a good background and like have a lot of costumes, and any like part-time jobs can take the same photos.
Right.
That was the revolution. Like that was a big change. But now it's couples. They want a different kind of photos. Depends on what they want.
So what is the main thing driving the business away from the studios and into services like Famarry? Is it the desire for more control by the customers? Is it price? Is it a desire to be something a little different?
I think we can say both, but most important thing is that quality.
The quality?
Yeah, quality. So if I make it only like a very cheap price, I can do it also because I have a lot of photographers now and I know when they are available. So if they are available like three days before, then it's okay to accept a bit cheap price. I can control the price if I have a lot of photographers. I can make it a reasonable price for shooting for the consumers. But it's not the best thing I'm doing. The best thing I'm doing is that freelance photographers make a lot of effort to have a higher skill and to catch up the trend and try to understand what the couples really want. And
so it's just a better experience overall.
Yes.
So you think these studios are going to be going out of business?
So I can take over the place.
Okay, good.
Yeah.
Yes, yay, disruption. Well, let's talk about you for a minute, because you've had kind of a crazy personal history. You've lived all over the place, from the Mideast to Southeast Asia. Do you think living in different places gives you a different way of looking at problems? Do you think it helps you generate new ideas?
Yes, I do.
Yeah?
I really do. Most of my time I spent my life in Japan, but I spent about 3 years in Dubai
Yeah.
and 2 years in Ho Chi Minh City and about 2 years in Singapore. So yeah, the experience there has a big influence to me.
Let's see, you were involved actually with some wedding-related businesses both in Vietnam and Singapore.
Yes.
So this is kind of a theme with you,
Yes.
isn't it?
For the business side, yes, being in Vietnam and Singapore influenced. I mean, it's kind of my original idea came from, this experience in these two countries. I was working for the wedding magazine company in Japan, so I know briefly about the Japanese wedding market. And then I was in the Ho Chi Minh City providing the wedding information for the wedding couples, Vietnamese wedding couples. Vietnam is a very young country, so there are so many people getting married, and they focus on spending a lot of more and more money into the wedding. So because I had the experience in the wedding market in Japan, I thought, oh, this is a very potential market in Vietnam.
So do it again in Vietnam.
Yeah.
Is the wedding industry, is it just a particularly good business? Is it something you're particularly attracted to, or you know it and you see a lot of opportunity there?
Yeah. I saw a lot of opportunity there in Vietnam.
And in Japan as well?
Japan is, if only about the wedding market, that wedding market is no longer growing. So of course that so many wedding companies also wants to launch in different countries like in Asia, because the population is growing, market is growing.
So why did you target the wedding market at first then?
I was working for the recruit company. You don't know which section you're going to be. So I was just like coincidentally joined this wedding magazine section. It's not like I like wedding or I wanted to do some business in wedding, but I had the opportunity to look at this market. And when I moved to Vietnam, I also thought that because of my experience, this is a very potential market. And then I was like here in 10 years I've been doing business in the wedding market.
So even though in Japan it's a smaller and declining market, you decided to make that the core of the business at first because you had good connections in the industry?
Yes, that's
true.
I mean that it's not small, it's declining, but it's very big market still. So I thought it's easier for me to start from Japan and then like expand it into different countries later on.
So you have plans on expanding into Asia,
Yes.
Where?
So first can be like inbound marketing, which means like Japanese people wants to go to like Hawaii or Europe countries for pre-wedding photos as well. So I can also match these photographers living in foreign countries. I'm already doing that now, and also because I have a lot of photographers here in Japan, so I can also attract other people in Asian countries because they love to come to Japan. I also have some inquiries already, like from Hong Kong or Taiwan or Singapore to come to Japan for pre-wedding photos. And then if I can understand more about the market in Asian countries, then I can maybe do Asian countries to Asian countries, or Asian countries to European photographers, or different photographers.
Interesting. So. You strike me as someone who's always been very independent. Is starting your own company something you always knew you wanted to do?
I think so, because I was thinking about it when it was like 10 years ago. Or
Really?
Yeah, I used to do like a very, very small business in college time. Like I was publishing these free papers, and I interviewed a lot of entrepreneurs when I was in college. I was very interested. I read a lot of books. I like to think about the business structure and all this.
When you finally did it, was your family supportive of it?
They were worried, but they're supportive as well.
What were they worried about?
They do not understand what I'm really doing or what I'm really thinking, because it's kind of crazy sometimes. Like I go to Vietnam or Singapore, but they're supportive.
So I've been in Japan for more than 20 years now. The change in startups has just been fantastic. There's a lot more people starting companies, and there's a whole lot more women starting companies in Japan. Mm-hmm. Do you think that there are opportunities for women in startups that don't exist in large companies or in traditional jobs here?
I don't think so. I don't think there is like a difference, even if you're in a startup or in the big companies. Of course, that you try to take advantage doing business, right? Like even if you're in Singapore, you take advantage as if you're Japanese, right? So it's the same thing. Like if you're women, then like if you can take advantage, you take advantage. But
so how would you take advantage? How do you use it as an advantage?
so it depends. Like it depends on the situation. So like I think that usually you don't have any chance for taking an advantage. But sometimes like if you're featured in the media, or I don't know, if you can make I don't know, stronger impression to the investors or the use for the I don't know, other people.
So you think the fact that it makes it more unique?
Yeah, and yeah, that's one of the things. Of course, because I'm doing the wedding business. I'm in the wedding business, so women takes control in the wedding.
Okay.
So of course that I can understand more about the users.
So most of your customers are women then?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, I guess that does make sense because the women, like you say, they are taking control of this process.
Yeah, even if you're taking like kids photos, I think the women, or mostly the women, decides the photographers. So.
Yeah, I hadn't thought about it, but yeah, I'm sure you're right about that.
Yeah.
Running a company is something you've wanted to do for a very long time. It's something you've been iterating on for a while. Now that you're running Famarry and it's growing strong, what surprised you most about running your own company?
I knew that it was hard. It's hard, but knowing and experiencing is a different thing. It takes more time than I expect. I expected more fast growth.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I thought I can make it faster, but it takes time. Yeah. So it takes time means that it takes it costs more than you expect.
Right.
So yeah. So of course.
I know what you mean. Even if mentally you know that the current growth is probably about right, it's very frustrating to have to wait for it.
Yeah.
What do you enjoy most about it?
I enjoyed most of the time.
Yeah?
I really enjoyed. Yeah, but very, very good thing is that it's a very happy business. So I can listen to this user's voice, and they're all happy with my service. This is a really encouraging thing. I have all the comments every day, and I read it.
That would be nice because you're working with people at some of the happiest times in their life, and they like your service. So it's really, I could see that be a wonderful.
Photographers, the personality of the photographers, like they're really nice. Like because if you're the photographer, you don't think only about yourself. You want to really make someone happy. So that's why that they're doing this job. So everyone is really nice, and I really want to help them. How do you say, like I feel that I'm doing very good thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and just a much nicer experience than working in investment banking or something. In becoming a CEO of this new company, what was the most important thing you had to learn?
I still learning every day. I have a lot of things to improve. Working with other people is the most important thing. Wow. So I want to make a company like you feel every day. You feel very excitement. You feel excitement to come to the office every day because they think that they're doing something good, or because they think that they feel like contributing something like to other people. So I have to make the business profitable, of course. Otherwise, that you cannot continue this thing. So
you've started companies in several different countries, so I think you'll have a unique perspective on this. But what advice do you have for foreigners coming into Japan to start companies?
I think it's really difficult for foreigners, especially to come to Japan, because Japan is a very special, unique market, I think, because I know that wedding market in different countries, but Japan is the only one country that has a different custom and different business structure. What
kind of cultural things do you think that companies coming into Japan should be aware of? What advice would you have?
They have to think that Japan is really different from the other Asian countries. Like if you think about Asian countries, they think that it's a same thing, but actually Japan is like a really different country.
So you'd say
they should know about it first. Yeah.
They'd have to really study and understand the local.
Yeah, I think so.
Not just the local market, but the customs and the traditions behind that.
Yeah, it's totally different.
Well, what do you think that Westerners misunderstand about Japan?
They have a different rules, I think.
They have different rules?
They do business with a connection. For example, in the wedding market, wedding venue controls everything, but
Right.
they always charge when you want to bring in your own wedding gowns because they have the connection already with this wedding dress shops or wedding photography company already.
So you think a lot of foreign companies don't understand that these connections are there and that it's not easy to sell into them.
Because if you think very simple, you can just propose them with this efficient way of thinking, but actually it doesn't work because it's different, and they do not follow something logical business.
I have seen this. I have seen so many foreign companies come into Japan. They'll go in. They'll have great meetings with Japanese companies who really love their technology and seem very excited.
They say that it's good, it's good, and then they refuse at last, right?
Oh, and they mean it too. They honestly think it's great technology, but they're not going to buy it.
Yeah. Because it's kind of they're already the system, or they already have the different rules already. It's better to fix it, but actually it doesn't fix very easily. No. Yeah, it's very difficult.
Yeah, I think that's really good advice. A lot of great business models in the U.S. and Europe look great on paper in Japan, but they can't execute it because of these tight-knit groups.
Yeah. Maybe it happens in Vietnam as well, but in Singapore, no. It's more easy, I think.
The other side of that is that usually those tight-knit groups, if you can disrupt that market, there's a tremendous amount of money to be made.
Yes.
But the foreign firms, or Japanese firms for that matter,
they just think very easy, right?
Well, they should know what they're getting into. And if there's a big reward, it might take many, many years to crack into the market.
Yes. So you're not, ready enough to do that. If you come from the outside, you think that it's easy and, start doing it in a very easy way, but, you find out, it's not.
And you're surprised
really
you can't make sales.
Yeah.
Let me ask you my magic wand question. And that's if I gave you a magic wand and said you could change anything about Japan, the education system, people's attitudes, legal system, anything at all, to make it better for startups in Japan, what would you change?
I think education. In the elementary school or when the kids are smaller, way of thinking will be kind of fixed before 10 years old. So kind of like mindset education is very important.
So what would you change? Is it too much memorization now? Yeah,
that's one of course. Discipline is also, of course, a good thing, but too much discipline.
Too much discipline. So what should they loosen up about? What parts of discipline should Japan make a little more free?
They shouldn't have rules which is not reasonable. They just say no without any reason sometimes. Like teachers, if teachers say this, then you should do that. You don't tell them the reasons. Yeah.
So
it's kind of
people need to think about the reasons behind why we do things. Yeah, I think actually all of Japan would certainly benefit by starting to think about the reasons behind why we do things. Excellent. Well, listen, Yuka, thanks so much for sitting down with me. I appreciate it.
Nice.
And we're back. I love that Yuka considers Famarry to be the happiest business in the world. And considering who her customers are, I think she just might be right about that. Yuka's advice for foreign companies coming into Japan was excellent. Most of the time when you see a market that looks like low-hanging fruit, when you think you're about to cakewalk your way into major market share and industry disruption, you're in for a surprise. You are almost certainly about to run head-on into some kind of cartel or invisible barrier. You'll have great meetings, prospects will be impressed with your offerings and give you sincere praise, but you'll struggle for a long time to gain meaningful traction. It's not impossible, of course. Yuka knew exactly what she was up against, and it took her longer than expected for the cracks in the wall to begin to show and for her business to gain traction. But now, it looks like things are about to take off for her and Famarry. If you have an experience trying to sell into a locked-up market in Japan, come by disruptingjapan.com/show036 and tell us about it. Or drop by the Disrupting Japan Facebook page. We'd love to hear from you. And when you drop by the site, you'll see all the links and sites that Yuka and I talked about and much, much more in the resources section of the post. And I know you've been really meaning to go over to iTunes and give us an honest review for some time now, and now's the perfect time to do it. It's really the best way you can support the show and really help us get the word out. But most of all, thanks for listening. And thank you for letting people interested in Japanese startups know about the show. I'm Tim Romero, and thanks for listening to Disrupting Japan.